We have some things up here that we want to show you later that you may not be able to see from where you're seated. Our annual meeting is something we do annually, and we were planning to do this in January, but because of we were kind of caught in a process with our facilities that we weren't ready to have the meeting in January to be able to give you some updates. So we pushed it to this Sunday. If you would, there is on the insert that was in the bulletin, there's a QR code. And I believe is Kellen still here? Is it just on the QR code or is it on the website as well? Okay, thank you so much. Kellen has put together a gorgeous annual report that I really want to encourage everyone to download and look at. Nancy Robinson, I don't know where Nancy is, but there she is. Hey, Nancy. Well, welcome. Good to see you. Nancy posted out, we have a staff Slack channel. It's like this internet, chat kind of thing. A picture of, from, I don't even know how long ago, of some folks that it was women who were part of our small group many years ago before Holy Trinity was ever thought of, but the small group from which Holy Trinity was born out of. And in that picture were Nancy and Kelly and Martha. Where's Martha? She was here. Hey, Martha. She's way back there. What's up, girl? And Claire Hughes was in the photograph as well. And Claire is, as many of you know, has gone to be with the Lord. And Nancy's comment was looking at the last iteration of the News and Needs, the email newsletter. Like, look at all the wonderful things that God has done that we never thought would be possible through that little small group that was reading C.S. Lewis books together. And when you look at this annual report, and Nancy, I was going to send it to reply in the Slack channel. I just didn't have time. It really is glorious, all the things. So I encourage you, download it, and we're going to follow along with it today. The first thing I'd like to do is just begin with, very quickly, if you are, we have the most amazing staff here at Holy Trinity. It is, I am truly honored to work and to serve God with these folks. If you're on staff here at Holy Trinity, would you please stand up? Thank y'all. Y'all are just, again, it's a privilege to serve with y'all. The other thing I wanted to recognize, if you serve on Sundays in any capacity or serve any time as a volunteer or a leader at Holy Trinity, would you please stand up? Okay. Let's give a hand to these folks too. Look at, that's awesome. Thank you. You can sit down. Holy Trinity is never, usually the typical kind of percentage people say is like 20% serve, 80% don't, and like that's just not been the case at Holy Trinity. So thank y'all for that, and grateful for all the ways that everyone shows up. I want to just also point out that last summer we made a big shift in our staffing and our kind of organization to create a family ministries team, and Lisa moved into a role that oversaw that, and with Ann Hammond and with Nancy and with Lewis, and I think they've been done a great job this past year of caring for families and meeting some felt needs there. So really grateful for our family ministries team. If we had more time today, I'd love to recognize some of the things that they did, but I want to also just point out what a significant, could you give them a hand actually, the family ministries team? And with that, I'd like to pass the baton to Kristen Rademacher to talk about Matthew 25.
Down to my height. Yes, I'm going to give you an overview of Matthew 25. If you don't know what this is a restructuring of our outreach ministries under this umbrella called Matthew 25. And the idea of this was not ours, it's born from the ACNA, who envisions an Anglican expression of justice and mercy in every parish across North America. And Matthew 25 is, of course, Jesus' call to care for the least of these. So the ACNA wants all of our churches, excuse me, to embody the values of incarnational ministry, justice and mercy, reconciliation, sustainable soul care, collaboration with community, cruciform living. That's a lot of words. This is all spelled out in detail in the appendix of the annual report. So we are excited to align with this initiative because we've had these ministries kind of living by themselves out there. So we're happy to put them together, and it helps to clarify the purpose of our efforts under a shared theological and missional framework. And also, we believe it's going to help enrich our spiritual lives here, deepen our discipleship and formation, and help us to become the hands and feet of Jesus in the world. So here is the Whistle Stop history tour of how this came to be. We formed a leadership team in the fall, and I'm going to introduce the team to you, and go ahead and stand up. We have Brother David, of course, Diane Martin, followed by Allison Martin, and Sharon Geyer, and Nancy Jo Stotts, who is on her way to Rwanda, so she is left for the day. But thank you. We are all working really hard to figure out how to do this work to merge our ministries under this initiative. And our vision is to ensure that we are embodying Christ's love through reconciliation, justice, and mercy. And we have some responsibilities that we're still trying to figure out, but they include collaborating across our ministries, overseeing the outreach funds among the ministries, assessing our current programs, and vetting new opportunities. So we're excited by that. We have just hot off the press finished a proposal form that is for all of you and us to propose new ministries that you might have some interest in. What else? So you probably know our current ministries are the Giving Box, that's not true, the Giving Garden, the Left Hand Blessing Box, Justice and Reconciliation, Pregnancy Support Services, Focus on the Fathers. So those are in action and going and now merged with us. And as we are opening the doors for new ministries to be proposed to us, we have a few characteristics that are, again, born from the ACNA's vision to include some characteristics of new ministries, which are a lay minister. That's not, why am I saying these words wrong? A lay leader, a lay team, so it's not a solo venture. You're going to be doing this with a team. And then two really important pieces. One is that you are developing a mindset of working alongside the vulnerable with humility. So serving with, not just serving for, and also collaborating with existing programs and organizations, other churches in the community that are already plugged into recognized populations. And one reason we think this is important is because we want these ministries, the current ones and new ones, to really be sustainable and last for years. And we think that is more likely to happen when we are tapping into a network that already exists. The proposal outreach form is also in the appendix of the report, so all kinds of information is in there. I encourage you to read it, and if you have any questions, please reach out to anyone on the team. That's it.
Thanks, Kristen. That's super helpful. One of the big things about Holy Trinity is what we do together as a church. If it's not, it can't just be about us. We have to be doing outreach. We have to go beyond the walls here at Holy Trinity. One of the things that's also, be on the lookout this afternoon. The Matthew 25 team has put together a survey that we're going to send to you, and it has basically, we want to know what are the outreach initiatives you would love, like you personally, like, man, I could get behind this. Here's something I'm passionate about, or perhaps here's where I'm actually already serving in our local community. We're going to send a survey out this afternoon, and we want to hear from you as we begin to move into a new season. We'd like to gather some information about our church. What are maybe the things that are already at work in the life of our church? So please be on the lookout for that and send a response as soon as you can. The next section is on health and safety. We have taken the initiative to do our very best to make Holy Trinity a safer place in all sorts of ways. The thing that you've heard about consistently, and if you work with children or youth, you know this, we work really hard to make sure that our church is, our standards for safety compliance with caring for children we try to achieve a gold standard there to make sure our children are always safe here. And so you've heard a lot about that. That's something that I'm really proud of about Holy Trinity. And I want to thank our family ministries team. Nancy Robinson's carried the torch for this for years. And as we talk to other parishes in our diocese, Holy Trinity really is above and beyond where a lot of churches are. And our hope is actually that our diocese will continue to push for a kind of greater normalization of making sure that our churches are safe places for children, but also for adults. A thing that we're looking at right now, we've been leaning into, is making sure that our time together on Sundays can be as safe as possible. So just a few weeks ago, we had 11 of our staff, clergy, and vestry members went through a Red Cross training. We are certified now. Certified by the Red Cross for adult and pediatric CPR and AED and wound care. We had 3 hours of online training and then 3 hours of in-person training here at Holy Trinity. And it was really important. We want to make sure that if anything, Lord willing, nothing happens, but if something does, we have an array of folks who are upstairs and downstairs on Sundays who are able and trained to respond. We have installed 2 first aid stations, one upstairs and one downstairs, where there are first aid kits, as well as responding to wound care, as well as AED devices, so that if there were to be a cardiac emergency, for example, we could respond to that. And these 11 people have been trained to use the AED that we have. So I want to thank the 11 folks. If you're here and you went through the training, would you stand up, just so everyone knows? These folks took a lot of time out to do this. So don't you feel safer now? I do. In addition, we had some folks from the Chapel Hill Police Department come and give us basically a consultation on our building and ways to make it safer on a Sunday morning when people are here. And one of the things that they suggested is that we need to do a better job of securing our doors. We have a lot of traffic. We have a lot of things happening on Sunday mornings, and we just need to monitor who's coming in and coming out of the building, especially downstairs on Sundays, because that's where our children and youth often are. And so we have all the pieces in place to begin a new system of kind of safety for Sundays, where we're going to be locking our doors downstairs and upstairs. And what this is going to require, especially downstairs, is that parents, when you're checking your kids in, like for atrium or nursery, or even with youth, that there's going to be a check-in station for them. And we're going to have a station right out front of the door downstairs, where it's going to be very simple. And we're putting all the systems in place to make it as easy as possible. But what we need is we actually need volunteers to staff that station on Sunday mornings. And so Kellen sent out an email trying to recruit folks to help with that. And the last time I talked to her about it, no one had responded. And so, I just want to say, like, we're trying to be as safe, and we're trying to protect kids here. And we need your help. Please jump in and support. Like, the more volunteers we have, the less you have to serve. Right? So this would be a great way, a great opportunity, especially if you're not currently in a rotation of service. That would be a great way to do something really important on Sunday mornings that would help us. In addition to that, we're also looking at providing kind of a facility safety team that's sort of aware of the full kind of 360-degree safety, especially like on Sunday mornings with kind of ushering, but also in the parking lot. We've had a few spills in the parking lot on Sundays, which is unfortunate. We're doing our best to make the parking lot safe, but we need some folks who are aware of what's going on outside on Sundays. If you are interested in serving in that area, please contact Bill Graham. That would be a great way for you to get involved. And so thanks. This is all a part of our desire to make sure that what we do on Sunday mornings is safe and that all of us are, we can kind of, Lord, thanks be to God, we've really never had something happen before, but, we just need to be prepared. So thank you. The next part of our agenda is, the next thing is financials. And Luke Brom is going to come and speak to that.
Hello, I was told if I kept announcements short, and I think I quote, I could wax poetic during the annual meeting, so buckle up and say goodbye to your pot roasts. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about last year's budget a little bit. I have three major points that I really want to make there and bring your attention to, and then we'll talk a little bit about this year's budget and what it looks like going forward. So on the 2025 financial report, I think it's on page 5 in the annual report. That 2025 table there has our income and our expense, our actual versus our budget. The numbers are really close and also really off in some really interesting ways. And like I said, I want to draw attention. So it's 3 points. First off, income. Our income came a little bit below what we budgeted. We budgeted for $822,000. We ended up getting $790,000. I really want to emphasize this church's generosity, and this is not the whole picture. A lot of you may have noticed we launched a capital campaign last year. We also have different accounts like alms that are not captured in this number. And so when you tally that all up, we actually got given more in the range of $1.3, $1.4 million, right? So even though our operating budget income was a little bit less than we expected, your generosity and what you gave last year was just above and beyond. And praise the Lord for that. Like, we're so thankful for that. We're so thankful for your generosity. So I think that point is really important. Second thing is our expenses actually also came down. So I know David mentioned the wonderful staff here. Just a huge thank you to the staff for really just like buckling up, tightening the belts, and doing the most that they could with what they were given, and not spending extra that they didn't have, and really bringing that number down. I think we were also 30,000. Yeah, 790,000 was our actual budget. 760,000 was our budget. 791 was our actual. Sorry, I flipped those, but still. Keeping expenses low. There were a few unexpected expenses that got added at the end, which I think is part of why I'm confused. Associated to facilities, which I'll talk about in a second when we talk about 2026 budget. But anyways, the staff kept spending down, and I think the third point that's just really important is these numbers that I'm all just like rattling off. If we look at our actual income for 2025, we have $790,000, and if we look at our actual expense, it was $791,000. These numbers are not our budget at all, but these are the numbers that God ended up giving us, and it really reminds me of the sermon and just the words that David said. The Lord knows what we need, and the Lord provided exactly what we needed last year, and that is not lost on anyone in the vestry or anyone on staff, and I hope it's not lost on you that the Lord gave us exactly what we needed last year. So praise be to God. We're so thankful for him and for the way he's provided. Looking forward to 2026 budget. So we have a faith gap of 8% for the 2026 budget. Our 2026 budget, I'll remind you that the budget for expenses for 2025 was $760,000, and we're adding quite a bit to that for a budget for 2026, $858,000. And that accounts to an 8% faith gap. And you might ask, what's a faith gap? Faith gap is we take what we actually were given last year to our operating account, which is that $790,000 amount, and then that's the difference between that and our budget for next year. So we're kind of expecting, we can hope that we get around the same amount that we did last year. And then there's a faith gap that God needs to make up. Like, this is out of our hands, and we're having faith that God will provide for that. A little bit of a history of faith gaps. Like, it sounds really scary to be like, okay, our budget is 8% higher, and yeah, that is scary. But I was talking to Nick a little bit. It's not the largest faith gap that we've had in our career as a church. I think when we moved into this facility, our faith gap was 35%. And the Lord met us in that. Like, there's a reason this is a faith gap. We're just like how God provided exactly what we needed, no more, no less this year. We're having faith that the Lord will provide what we need going forward to next year. And just to go in a little bit to the justification of why our budget has inflated so much, I would say our church budget is made up of about 3 very distinct pies, and they're not all created equal as far as how much of the pie these 3 slices make up. Sorry, 1 pie, 3 slices. The first one is facilities. So rent went up this year, as well as we've had some unexpected, we'll say, facility costs that we didn't expect to be responsible for, that we are now responsible for going forward. There's a lot of negotiation with our lease and stuff associated with that. And I think we ended the best we could, but it still resulted in an increase of costs for us. So, I mean, this is one of the yeah, about six, yeah, it's a 6% as far as like increase of facilities budget, which the facilities budget makes up a large portion of our budget as a whole, right? So rent going up, those extra costs, that's a huge part of that faith gap. The other part is we gave our staff raises this year for the first time in 2 years. That was really important to us as a vestry. We could have not and had a smaller faith gap, but it just didn't seem right by them, and especially the hard work that they've been doing and the fact that it's been 2 years without a raise. I mean, we all know what it feels like to go a long period of time without a raise. And so that was really important to us, and that does make up a fair amount of the faith gap as well. And then I would say the third portion, which this is actually a really small slice of the pie, unfortunately, because those things are really expensive, facilities and personnel, is our like mission and our outreach and our ministries, like those budgets. So this really represents a commitment, increase in facility cost, a commitment to our staff, and then a commitment to keep those ministries alive and keep those mission giving alive. We could start gutting ministries and start nickel and diming people all over the place to bring that faith gap down, but that's just not what we want to be about, right? That's not what we want to do with the money that God has given us. And so all of this has resulted a commitment to keeping that the same, commit to moving forward with things like Matthew 25 and providing money for that. We ended up with the 8% faith gap, okay? So that all just lands in just kind of a call to you as a congregation. I think I have in here, there's a fact of, we have about 120-ish distinct givers in Holy Trinity, at Holy Trinity. If 100 of you gave $55 more a month, which I'm not saying is a small amount, $55 more a month is a lot for some people. It's a lot for most people, honestly. That would make up the difference, right? That's basically the entire faith gap there. So I would just admonish you to pray and consider what you're giving, pray and consider if you can give more. And honestly, for all of us together, whether or not you end up feeling like you give more or not, praying and trusting God to meet us in this faith gap the way he's met us in so many years in the past. We have never ended up wanting, ever. We have never been in a dire financial situation, even though our budget keeps going up and up. Well, the Lord has provided through it. The Lord has provided through it. That's my point. Yes. No, definitely don't get me wrong.
Yes.
I'm waxing poetic here, but we have come up here. We have come up here and we have asked for money because we have seen the budget and it has felt scary. That has definitely happened. But the Lord has provided through all of that, is my point. So that's kind of what I want to leave to you as we look at this budget going forward. Please keep it in your prayers. Keep Holy Trinity's finances in your prayers, whether it's personally or just in general, for God to meet us in that faith gap. So I think I'm finally done. So I'll move it to the capital campaign next. Or Jack has a question?
Yeah, usually on annual reports, there's some source of more line version of the budget rather than.
Sure.
Report is
No, there's typically, I don't know that that's, I would say what you see here is not unusual, actually. So if you'd like to have more information, then we're happy to provide that for you. So just reach out. Yeah. We've typically just done summaries. So we've never done a line item budget for the church. The vestry, just so you know, the vestry is where line item stuff actually is the lay leadership of the church goes through all the line item stuff. And then the summary is presented to the church, which is why the vestry plays such a significant role in the life of our parish. They're in charge of the finances. So the one additional thing I would say to Luke's waxing is, there are a lot of us who've been here for a bit, and we've been giving actually the same amount for quite a number of years, and which is awesome, and we're grateful for that. But if the Lord is leading you to, we would encourage you to respond. If he's leading you to give a little bit more, that would be super helpful as we embark on this next year. We're planning Also, the other thing I would say is we're planning after the first quarter of this year to revisit the budget, to see where giving is and expenses. We're gonna be coming back to the church. We're planning to report quarterly. We'll be coming back to y'all to let you know kind of how things are unfolding. But, the one thing I wanted to kind of draw out, is we contributed Holy Trinity contributed over $109,000 last year in 2025 to alms, mission, outreach, church planting, and global mission. If we brought in $790,000 and we sent out 109,000. I'm an English major. I don't know what that. How much is that? 13%. 13% of what came in actually didn't stay with us. It went out. Oh, well, I was about to say, thank you, Jack. I appreciate your comments today so much. You are so helpful. Alms is not budgetary, so we can't, he's right, we can't count that against our budget, the total amount. So alms, we sent out and the alms is interesting because alms is not tithe, Jack. That's over and above what's tithed. Like, it doesn't come in as budget. And we sent out based on just what y'all gave to alms last year. Not connected to what you gave in tithing. Like, alms is nothing but an expression of your generosity. And we sent out $57,406 in alms in 2025. That's the most we've ever given away in alms before. I have to believe that Jesus actually finds that incredible. Well done, y'all. Like, seriously, well done. You can work the percentages if you want to, but well done. We've never given away more than $50,000 before. So, so in addition to us having enough to get through operationally, we sent out a ton last year to care for every single thing that comes into alms cares for people in crisis or need. Okay? So, thanks be to God.
Yeah. Amen.
Thank you, Luke.
Yeah. Thank you.
The next thing that we have, if you look in if you're following along in your PDF, you'll see a section on ministry updates. And this just kind of blew me away. By the way, Kellen Boer put together the most beautiful annual report we've ever had in our entire existence. It's gorgeous. Look at this. What's that? Speech? Kellen, would you like to wax poetic? No? Okay. Well, please take some time to look through these. All of our ministry leaders or people connected to these ministries answered 3 questions in 10 to 20 words each question, which is tiny amount. Some people went over, but it's worth reading through these and just, there are so many wonderful things going on in the life of our parish. It's astonishing. Seriously, take some time and read through, all the way through small groups, all the way through global outreach stuff. It's really wonderful. So I think the next section has to do with vestry. Yeah? Are you ready for this?
Will be.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. I'm Nick Robinson. I'm on the vestry here, and I'm going to take just a moment. One of the particular roles of the vestry is finances, as David said, but then also every year there's some people that leave the vestry and some people that come on, and the congregation approves the folks coming on. So first, starting with the person going off is Bob McDonald. Bob, stand up for a second. Bob has been on our... Yes, my helper will give you a nice gift. Anyway, we want to thank you, Bob. Bob has been a great vestry member. And I know you got here in 2014. It feels like you've been on the vestry the whole time. I don't think that's true, but thank you so much for your amazing service to the group. Stepping into the hole that is left with Bob leaving, we've nominated Diane Martin to come back onto the vestry. Diane got here in 2016, and I feel like she's been on the vestry a fair amount of that time. She was on the vestry until last year, and our bylaws require us to have vestry members rotate off periodically for at least a year. We looked at Diane and we found out that in that year when she was supposed to be resting, she was working even harder than she was on the vestry. So that's why we invited her back on. But anyway, Diane has been an amazing engine in what happens in Holy Trinity. So I would like to take this moment to ask for a motion to approve Diane as a member of the vestry. Do I hear a motion from someone? Do I hear a second? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? It's unanimous. Now get to work.
We acknowledge who's on the vestry.
I don't have that list in front of me. I'm afraid I'll leave somebody off.
If you're on the vestry, please stand.
Yeah.
Diane should stand.
Oh, yeah, I got it. Yeah, so,
There are bios in here of the vestry members, so that, and these are, I think it's also important to say that Nick Robinson is our senior warden, which means he's kind of the rector's warden, and so he stays connected to me and makes sure that my family are doing okay. And Nick's role in the church has been significant for a long time, and as we continue to it's very, very, very convenient to have. What do you do?
I'm a Renaissance man. I am a lawyer, but it's mostly related around real estate and land use and zoning
Which
stuff.
is incredibly convenient when you're trying to build a building. And so Nick has been essential for us in our desire to build a facility. So he's the rector's warden, the senior warden, but it's also very important to recognize. And maybe stand up again, Katie Ducharme. She's our junior warden. And the junior warden means she's the people's warden. She's your warden, which means if you have issues with the church, problems, concerns, you should go to her. No, but seriously, she's an for the parish. She is the bridge to the vestry. So if you'd like to send questions, comments, concerns, whatever, to the vestry, you're obviously welcome to send them to me or Nick, but her role is as the people's warden. So thanks to both of them for their service. Their role is very significant, and they do a lot. I'm really grateful. So.
Yeah, I think that's it. I guess the next part is to speak first, right? Okay, so, yeah, I'm not gonna, this has been a long morning already. I'm not gonna spend too long, but I know there are some folks here who have come along more recently. And so part of what we're gonna do today in talking about the new facility that the Lord is gonna help us build in the next couple of years, I was just gonna start with a little bit of a backstory to the present. Believe me, I'm glad that some of these parts are part of the backstory now and no longer part of the present story. But the journey that we've had in terms of facilities at Holy Trinity has been pretty amazing. Holy Trinity was planted basically in 2010, 2011, and at that time we started at Martha's photography studio in Pittsburgh. That's right. We were upstairs above a bar. Worshiping on Sunday evenings when they were playing music. What's that? Oh, there was a Friday night, yeah, above a bar. That was an interesting competition. But we moved from there to sharing space with the good folks at Evergreen United Methodist, just south of the Lowe's Foods over here, for a few years. And from there, some of you may recall, we moved into Reeves Auditorium at the North Carolina Botanical Garden, which was a beautiful and amazing facility for us until COVID came along. And since it was a state facility, it closed. And so then we started to worship outdoors at our parish center, which was a little office on 15501. Didn't have an outdoor facility, so we built a little structure out there that was sometimes variously referred to as a gazebo and other times referred to as a palladium. And it was, I'm sure, somewhere in between on those things. But we did that out in all of the elements for quite a while during COVID. And then we moved from there to the carriage house which is an outdoor wedding venue. I'm sure some of you were there during that time. And from there, finally, to our current sixth place that we have been worshiping as a church plant over the last 14 years. And so that's been quite a journey. Along the way, we had all manners of issues that you can imagine facilities-wise. But throughout that time, we were always looking for an existing building somewhere to permanently house Holy Trinity. We looked at upstairs floors and office buildings. We looked at office condominiums, movie theaters. We were looking anywhere to just find a permanent place. And we also just kept praying fervently that God would show us a way. We never really thought that we would buy land or build a building, but in the end, that's what God delivered to us. And so that's the part of the story that's getting ready to get told. Eventually, because of the nature of Chapel Hill, we concluded that we would just have to buy land and build something. And so one day, Marty Martin was driving up the highway and saw a sign for some real estate available just about a mile south of here off 15501. It was 50 acres. Of course, we didn't need 50 acres. But we investigated anyway, and we went and looked at it. And as it turned out, that 50 acres was comprised of one 15-acre tract and then an assemblage of other smaller tracts. And we went and looked in the 15-acre tract we loved. It was beautiful. It's situated up on the high ground. You could overlook Chapel Hill. And so we said, well, let's just make an offer on the 15 acres and see what happens. And so we made an offer to the owner to buy that 15 acres for $750,000. And 2 days later, he unceremoniously told us no. He said, I'm not at all interested in selling part of it. I only want to sell all of it. At which, we understood, but we didn't need 50 acres and we certainly couldn't afford 50 acres. And so what eventually happened is we came up with the idea of partnering with a residential real estate developer to together offer to buy the entire 50 acres. And that is ultimately what wound up happening. And in God's great majesty, what wound up happening to us is, and it's a long story, I won't tell you all of it, we wound up getting basically the 15 acres that we wanted. It turned out to be 12 and a half, which is plenty for us. But physically, we got the 12 acres that we wanted, and we got it for $125,000 less than we had offered in the original time, which was pretty incredible. And so in January of 2025, we purchased that 12 and a half acres, and we now own it. And there are others who are going to tell you what happened from there, but I can't stop until I recognize Arnold Thackeray, who's here, because it seems pretty easy to say that we only spent $632,000 on the acreage, but we bought it with cash. And the way that we bought it with cash was some work that Dr. Arnold Thackeray did in going around and raising money, because he had the foresight before any of us did that we may not need this now, but we are going to need it. And he did the work to go out there and drum that up. And so we're very grateful to you, Arnold, for that. We now own the land that our building will be built on. So thanks be to God for that. And I think that's it for the backstory to the present time.
See, I've never been up here. Hello, my name is John Goodman. My wife Mandy said I should say good morning, but she's always right. So anyway, good morning. So I'm going to just talk about the process we've been through for basically the last year, and getting to the point where you're going to see on these storyboards where we are with the church. The new church. And so I'm going to talk about what we call programming, which is where you start. And then we're going to talk about how we created or put together this design team, an architect, civil engineer, and a design and assist contractor. and how we work together concurrently while the budget was being established through pledges and other means. And then I'm going to talk about some milestones during the last year, and finally look ahead a bit. So to begin with, about a year ago, we met with the full building committee, which are all the different stakeholders in this church. And we met and tried to put together a list of what was called programming. And that is where you put together a list of all our wants and needs and try to document it so that we had something to talk to our design team about where we were headed. Examples would be we're looking for 300 seats in the church. Another example is we wanted to at least have as much atrium space as, if not more than we have now. And also a place for outreach or features that enhance our outreach. So anyway, we had that initial meetings with the full building committee, which I think were very productive. And then we selected 3 architects that were local and had prior church experience. And we put together what we call a request for proposal, which asked for their fees and what kind of approach they would have, and gave them the information they needed to respond. I mean, what we developed in this initial programming. So we also then had interviews. I'm talking about the full building committee. We had interviews with all the 3 candidates, and our choice was unanimous with Shaw Design. He had a good proposal, he had the best proposal, and he had a fair price, and we were really excited to get him on board. So we actually have a contract agreement with him, which will go from, take us all the way to the end of the design process. The second was a civil engineer, and Thomas and Hutton was helping us with this whole land purchase, which, as with the Chapel Hill in Orange County, it's very complicated. And we decided, for many reasons, to continue on with them. They were doing a good job for us. We had a lot of confidence in them and liked the people that we were working with. Again, that was a unanimous decision from the building committee. And last was the pre-construction services contractor. And all 3 architects, when we asked them, who would you recommend we use as a contractor? They all recommended the same one, which was C.T. Wilson. They're a local contractor with a great reputation. And their president, Charlie Wilson, we interviewed him, and we're very happy with the interview. And he also, we negotiated an agreement with what we believe is a very fair fee. And best of all the pre-construction services, which include estimating, all the different iterations of the design we've gone through, he's doing it no cost at all. So his fee is based on the construction cost. Anyway, over the past year, we've been working with this team, as well as the building committee, and working with them. And we believe it's just been a great team. They've lived up to all our expectations. We've gone through many design iterations. And most recently, both the architect and our contractor, who's going to build the building, have voluntarily, without even talking to us, reduced their fees substantially to help us meet our budget. So anyway, that's how we got them on board last. Concurrent with this whole process we're talking about, we had our capital campaign to try to figure out what our budget was. How much did we have to spend? And that's a combination of budget and mortgage and construction loans. And Bob Boder did that. And he'll be up here in a minute, I think. Aren't you coming up? Next. He's next. You're next. So anyway, we had that going on, and then Nick and Diane were continuing to work with the city and the county, and even Chatham County too. And a job I am so grateful that I have nothing to do with. And anyway, so they've done a good job doing that. And some milestones is that Shaw started with us, meeting with the full building committee again, and he had what he called a design charrette, which is a fancy way of saying it's a programming session where he's trying to gather all the things we want, all the things we need, and put them together. And that was quite a process. And anyway, he ended up putting it all in writing, and then he spent a couple of months studying the site, going through a lot of different iterations before he came back to us with his initial concept estimate. Charlie Wilson, our contractor, then estimated it, and it was approximately double our budget. So then we decided we have a lot of work to do. I mean, it was quite a shock. And we did the number of things. One was to reduce the size of the initial project by phasing it. So we have a phase one and a phase two. Phase one is what we can afford to do now. And phase two, we're pre-designing so we can facilitate doing it in hopefully in the not too distant future. And in addition to that, so we estimated that, and that got us a little closer, but we're still substantially over our budget. And we've gone through at least 2 major redesigns after that. And now we think the budget and the estimate are pretty well aligned with what we're going to show you. So I think that looking ahead, I think we're about there. Construction, once begun, should take about a year. So we think we'll be starting, our biggest constraint is the permitting process and regulatory conformance with the County of Orange and the City of Chapel Hill. It's a real challenge, and Diane and Nick continue to work hard on it, and but it's hard to predict. And anyway, so starting date, probably early next year. I don't know, Nick he's going to cover that. So anyway, that's where we are. We're so grateful. We think the team we're working with has been a godsend. We're very blessed to have them. And we continue to be happy with how the process has gone.
My name's Bob Boder, and I get the pleasure of talking about the Seek First campaign. Thankfully for Arnold, we had enough money to buy land, and as we go through the design process, we had to come up with a budget where our money matches the construction costs. And so we had to start looking at banks, and I contacted 5 banks probably a year ago, 4 commercial banks, and one really interesting church lending nonprofit out of Texas. And the 4 commercial banks all said the same thing. Their max loan amount that we could probably get from them was way below what we needed to build our building. I sent them all of our financials from past years and our budget for 2025, and it was amazing. They all came up with $2 million, and that wouldn't have gone very far. So during all of this, we had a capital campaign, and we had a guy who helped us raise that money, Horizons. And the interesting thing is the lender in Texas knows him and likes him, and has been projects where he was there before. He looked at our congregation and numbers and all that and said, we probably could come up with $1.5 million. And so we started down the capital campaign road and set our goal for 2.5, because that's kind of what we need to get to where we need to be. And this started last summer, like June, July or so. And so we're about maybe 3/4 of the way through the first year. It's a 3-year campaign. It'll supposedly conclude September 30, 2028, which by then I hope we're in the building. Anyhow, 78 pledgers pledged $2,263,000, which is way above what Horizons told us, but not quite to our goal, but still mighty close. So people have been given ever since then. We've received total progress goal as of the 3rd of March, $608,000. This is above and beyond $790,000 church budget. Okay, think about that. The pledges came in. There was 78 people pledged. 400. We've had 400 donations from those 78 people for $523,000. The interesting thing to me is we've had 129 gifts from non-pledgers for $85,000. So our pledge goal of $2,262,000 really is going to be, who knows, something more than that, because there's people out there who for whatever reason did not pledge, but they're given in a pretty consistent level. So it continues on.
Thank you, Bob.
So I get the fun job of walking you through all of these pictures. I have to figure out where they are before I can.
That's the floor plan.
Okay,
Where do you
good.
want?
I'll put the land one maybe right here.
Canvas?
Maybe. Can everyone see it? I can't see it, but I can see it in my head. I totally can't see it.
Yeah, it's
You know
posted
what?
in the PDF, yeah.
You know what? I come down on the.
You absolutely, you do whatever you want to. That's it.
I'm going to start the property. We have this first line of the property. It's a very interesting shape of property, challenging, gorgeous land, but challenging, lots of slopes. And it required a really gifted architect and engineering team that John talked about to find to locate.
Would you talk in this microphone so we can hear?
Online. Diane, so folks online can hear you.
Oh, right. Have to hold this? Okay, am I hearable now? Okay. Oh! All right, now you can hear me and I don't have to shout. Okay, so we have this lovely C-shaped piece of land. Locating the exact spot for the church was a very interesting process. It's up high, fitting right into the contours of the land, preserving as many trees as possible. And so I think that just that job alone was a very large job. So focus on this little spot there. You'll see the little gold spot, that's phase 1, and the 2 little purple arms, phase 2. And so I'll talk about those. We will have access to this from Wave Road, which is up here. That's up in the northwest. and down here in the southeast from Old Lister Road. So there'll be 2 access points to get up to the church. The original dream design included those 2 wings and offices, but it would have been a $12 million project. And so, as John mentioned, we've gotten it down to about a $5.5 million project with phase 1, and that's what I'm going to focus on today. So the next thing is going to be, now I have to take this with me, not trip, the floor plan. So looking at the floor plan, so this is phase 1. You can see the little arms coming off to the side, which are phase 2. But let's look at the floor plan. You can see that the top, the front entrance, and we'll look at the pictures in a moment, but the front entrance coming in leads into the sanctuary, and there's a ladies' room and a men's room. So upstairs is, upstairs, we get so happy over the, I know. So this is all the sanctuary, and that in phase 1, that's going to have to be also purposed as our sort of a multi-purpose fellowship hall area as well. Eventually, when we get the full build out, that will be just a sanctuary. But for in the meantime, it will be both our fellowship hall as well as our sanctuary. Then there's an elevator, another nice addition, and then this is the downstairs. And what's lovely about, and you can see it on the pictures, the way the land dips down in the back, it walks right out from the downstairs. So it isn't like it's all dark. There's all windows around the back, walking right out to the downstairs. And the downstairs then has all of the atrium, youth room, 2 nursery, both a nursery and a toddler room, so a very large nursery area, 2 family bathrooms downstairs, as well as a bathroom that's attached to the nursery area. Also, the offices for Father David and for Lisa. And so that's primarily the layout, and this will, of course, be kind of tweaked as we actually get into the final phases to make sure that everybody has the space they need in terms of youth, children, adult classrooms. So that gives you kind of the view of phase 1, and then if we come over here, you can actually see a sanctuary, which is pretty lovely, with the 300 seats. These seats, by the way.
We have just, because I know some people may be curious, so that's a 300 seats in that nave. This, in that sanctuary, we have right now in this space about 215, 220. So we already have 300 chairs just like this, but the rest of the chairs are in storage. Just to give you kind of a sense of scale of kind of what we have now, what we will have.
And then here you can see more views, and I think this is also nice in that, maybe turn around a little bit. Of course, now I'm trapped. There we go. There we go. Right. And so that gives you the looking at from the outside and looking at it from the inside. And so the other thing that I should say, and then we'll go back over here to the plot of land, Father David wanted me to mention the neighbors to you. And so to the west, northwest actually, is Wave Road. And that is that's mostly rental properties, but there are a few permanent residents. We've actually interacted with them and have developed a good relationship with them. Up above us to the north, Father David has already been contacted about a landowner who would like to sell us some more land. So there's a possibility we can expand in the future. And then on the south side here and also across Old Lister Road, there is a generational black family, the Thompsons, who have had that land since post-Civil War. The grandfather had established a timber mill that employed 50 former slaves, so that's kind of a historic site. There was also a black schoolhouse there at one point. We have already met members of the Thompson family and look forward to having a really good relationship with them. You'll notice that there are 2 lots, potential for 2 lots down here at the bottom, and we're hoping that those would be able to be sold and will help pay off the mortgage, the construction costs. And up here, this little leg up here, there's a possibility of us having some tiny homes in partnership with with a nonprofit like Pee Wee Homes, which builds these little tiny homes or tiny duplexes and these are for elderly people who are seeking housing. So the ability to have some affordable housing, to have lots that we can sell for future income. And I think the current vision then, looking at that picture over there, the current vision is about 11,000 square feet, and over here you can see parking spaces, about 125 parking spaces, and phase 2 would give us an additional 6,000 square feet, would build out more offices, would build out a fellowship hall, that sort of thing, 25 spaces, parking spaces. So I think, any questions about any of this? Yes? Well, because these are these chairs. Her question is, how can the sanctuary become a fellowship hall? And the answer is, these chairs are movable chairs. Yes, and one of the spaces in the upstairs is a storage room for tables. So we would have the tables stored upstairs. And the foyer is also big. So again, it's manpower, moving things around, but we've been doing that since 2010, right? Yeah. Any other questions? What? Yes. Absolutely. Totally. In fact, we've been talking about a pickleball court in the parking lot, so. Oh, that's a good question, because we will have to move it, won't we? But I think we'll figure out how to do it. Her question is, how are we going to move the Holy Trinity sign that's out in our front yard? We may even have a better new sign, who knows? No, they will have to remove it if this is no longer Holy Trinity. You are correct. Any other questions? Wait.
Hank.
Oh,
On the map, are we able to see where the town limits end and where we are sort of related to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
let me see if it's,
And the second is, what are Chapel Hill's sort of long-range plans for annexation?
oh, okay. So we had talked about applying for annexation, and in various conversations with the fire marshal and the town planning staff, we concluded it was in our interest at this point for us not to be annexed to Chapel Hill. So we're Orange County in the jurisdiction of Chapel. Nick's going to explain all this. I'm going to let Nick do all
That's
this.
fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Quick question. I was just curious. I think in a former plan I saw there was like a baptismal font in the middle
There-
of the name. I was just curious.
That was the,
Don't look at me, Diane.
you have no idea the size baptismal font he wanted. That was the $12 million. That was the $12 million version of the building. There was this great, in the center, there was a big,
Diane,
there will be a
you could
back-
say, and I will speak up as a member of the vestry, if someone is really, really excited in particular about that baptismal font, there are opportunities to make that happen. I mean, we could have a really amazing baptismal font, and that would be awesome.
Wait,
I
back-
love that.
Safe place for kids to run around outside.
Yes,
It doesn't like
because it doesn't show on, well,
Yes.
actually, yes.
The next, we actually.
Asking about a place for children, and actually back behind in here, there's going to be a play area, because the atrium part opens right up to the outside, and there'll be a play area back there, yes. Mhm.
Is there a need to liquidate that immediately?
No, not at this point. But any land questions, ask Nick. Yeah, yes.
One is about that land, at least from the GIS, it appears that that land is not there, it's in this mock-up. I wanted to hear a little bit about the intentions for the timing of the liquidation and the clearing of that
Are you
land?
talking about down here?
That's right. And then the second question, again, if I'm seeing the GIS appropriately, in the top right section, there appears to be a structure. Is that right? And will that be demolished?
Are you talking about these little guys here?
No, in the GIS, the bottom left currently is a wooded property, and then the top right has a structure.
Oh, yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. I don't
Yeah.
have a microphone on, but I think there's some very old farming structures in there, corn crib and some other things, and yeah, those will be taken down.
Some structures have already moved, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
And
there's
then
no residences or anything.
and the first question about the wooding?
About the what? Oh, yeah, the timing of that? Is that the question?
Yeah, so it is a wooded property right now. So you plan on
Oh, right here.
clearing it and then selling it. Is that right?
Oh, no, so what Diane is talking about here is, right here, it's mostly, I don't think that this right here is actually representative of whether it's wooded or not. I think you're probably right. If you look at the GIS, there's trees in here and here. These are two potential residential lots. And the way that would be dealt with is, once we've installed the roadway, then we can create a final plat to sell those lots. And then it would be, we can put whatever restrictions we wanted to on those lots in terms of how much gets cleared and how much doesn't.
So it sounds like that hasn't been worked out with the.
No.
We wouldn't be doing the clear.
No, we get to work it out, but we wouldn't be doing the clearing. Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah.
I have a very quick, simple question. What is a storm pond, and is it a safety issue for children who are going to be spilling out there?
Yeah, so that's a stormwater detention basin, which is of course required to allow surface water to run. And the purpose of it is, I won't go on very long, but the purpose of that is to, when you have a lot of water coming off pavement or off rooftops, it's dirty. And so you don't want that water just running down into creeks. And so they create a stormwater detention basin. It holds the water long enough for the sediment to go down to the bottom, and then gradually allows the water out into the environment. So that's the purpose of it, yes. And I'm pretty sure, John will know this, I'm pretty sure there has to be a fence around it. Yeah.
And that's a 100-year storm. In other words, if we had a 100-year storm, which we have more often now, it will capture the stormwater of a 100-year storm.
The current budget has a line item in it for a fence around it. But on the other hand, I've been told by the contractor that almost all these stormwater retention basins have a very deep ledge, a long ledge, shallow all the way around it. So it may not be mandatory to have a fence. It may be a question of insurance and liability.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's a line item in it.
Anastasia.
What about the bell tower?
As a member of the vestry, I would also speak up again and say, if someone is particularly interested in the bell tower, there are opportunities for that as well.
Anything is possible. It's only a matter of price.
Many
Yes.
things are possible.
Nick,
Yes.
is the 84,000 from non-pledgers from people inside the church or outside?
Yeah, I think it's inside the church.
Church did not fill out.
Yeah, they just didn't fill out a pledge card. Yeah. Yes.
125 to start with, and then an additional 25 with phase 2.
I've been keeping meticulous records about how many cars show up every Sunday since we started. And it basically works out to be, somewhere under 2 people per car.
I was wondering if there's any kind of kitchen space for when it's being used for gathering.
So upstairs, temporary a little temporary kitchen, and when we have phase two built out, there'll be a full kitchen with the fellowship hall. But for now, we'll have a small temporary kitchen, and then eventually a full kitchen.
Diane, before you move from there, maybe you went over this, but I see all these temporary children's class, temporary youth, temporary this,
Oh, yeah.
temporary that.
Okay.
What are they going to become ultimately?
Yeah, I think, Diane, I was going to mention this too. I think for the context of this, so the original design of the building, which had these wings on it, was. Yeah, the question is, where are the, what is the meaning of temporary children's spaces, temporary children's classrooms, et cetera?
What is it going to become?
Yeah,
We're just not
right.
voting on it
And
yet.
so the original design was sanctuary upstairs and then downstairs, a giant fellowship hall, right? And on the wings, all of the offices and a classroom space. And then because that was a $12 million project, we couldn't really do that. The thing that had to get cut was the fellowship hall. So the fellowship hall got replaced, downstairs got replaced with classrooms and offices. And they're deemed temporary at this time because when we build phase two, put the wings on there, we'll move the classes and the offices into the wings, and then we will finally have a fellowship hall down there. if
And
that
the
makes
full
sense.
kitchen.
Yeah, and the full kitchen. So they're temporary only in the sense that they will get moved into the wings once phase two gets built. Anything else? I was going to mention one other thing real quickly, which is that you've heard a lot has been thrown at you, and a lot of it is numbers. I wanted to just give you kind of a global perspective of things. So the budget that we have for the building is $5.5 million. We expect that we should, through the pledge drive and other giving, be able to raise $2.5 million. We're expecting to be able to get a loan for the balance, which is $3 million. And that's a big number, but in context, one of the things that we've known all along is that essentially the amount of rent that we're paying right now for this facility equates to the amount of a mortgage payment for $3 million. So when we're paying our monthly mortgage payment in this building, we're going to be building equity in the structure instead of just paying rent. So you put those all together, we feel really good about where that would leave us. It's not a big stretch financially or anything like that in terms of the way all that turned out. So that's a blessing. And if you can pray, there's a lot you can pray about. There's a bunch of things to pray about. One thing you can pray about is just that, it'd be awesome if interest rates came down before we had to borrow money, because the lower the interest rates go, really the less we have to borrow and less we have to pay. So that would be great. Another thing, and this is the last thing I think, unless there's another question, timeline. So there are some definitive factors that we know basically almost exactly how long they're going to take. But the one thing that we don't know exactly how long it's going to take is the thing that's first in line that has to get finished. So, and that is to get through the town of Chapel Hill and Orange County and get, number one, get the zoning approved for the church, which we anticipate we'll be able to do. It's just a process. And then number two is to get a conditional zoning permit that will approve the layout of the grounds and the building and the site. We're in the middle of all of that. We've been pushing as hard as we can to get the zoning approval done, and we're aiming to get it done before June, but we've had some delays through town stuff that we couldn't really help. Unfortunately, the Chapel Hill Town Council goes on vacation for the whole summer. So if we don't get our zoning approval by June, then it will probably be September when we get it. So I went through all of the various timelines. Basically takes, once you get the zoning done, it takes 3 or 4 months to get the permitting done, and building permit, et cetera. And then it takes a year, as John said, from when you break ground until when you occupy. And so if we were able to get our zoning completed by this June instead of September, and you walk your way through that whole process, we're thinking that, and these are estimates, we're thinking that the highest likelihood for move-in would be June, July 2028. And if we get delayed another 3 months in getting the zoning, you could just bump that out 3 months to September, fall of 2028. So we just wanted to give you that expectation of knowing where we are. The great thing about it taking a while to get from where we are now to when we occupy is that it gives more time for the funds in the pledge drive to build up. And the more money that we've saved from the pledge drive, the better loan terms we're ultimately going to get on the mortgage part of it. So we feel like all of that stuff, it's a bunch, I know. All of that stuff is working together terrifically at this point. There's still a lot of hamster wheeling that we got to do to get to where we want to be, but we're feeling like it's headed in the right direction. Yeah.
Are you
Nancy.
looking at floating rate or fixed rate money?
Oh, I'm no lender. Bob might know.
Bob Boder would know.
Are you looking for a floating rate or a fixed rate of interest?
I expect it will be a floating rate.
He says floating rate for those at home. Any other questions? Yes, Mark? Oh, yeah, that's a great question. I meant to mention, it. Thank you for bringing that. Where are we at in our current lease? So we have the ability to extend the lease through the end of 2028. Yes. Yes.
With regard to zoning, is that a possibility?
Yeah, the question is, he was talking about a columbarium for burial, and is that a possibility for zoning? Yeah, that won't be a problem as part of church grounds. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Anything else? Oh, yes, Anastasia. That is a great question. We're still talking, the question is, will we still have an atrium where all the levels are connected in one room, or will it be separate rooms? And we're still working on that. I think the desire is possibly to have them all in one room, but it's a space question. So between now and when we get the final building designs, we'll work that out. Yeah. Do you like it that they're all together or not? Okay, she has concerns about the responsibility of the children in level 3, but that's okay. We'll deal with that later. Anything else? The term of the mortgage. Yeah,
So we're working with a non-traditional vendor, and so it's not a traditional term. So the reality is, and Bob, I don't think you mentioned this, the likelihood is part of the terms of our receiving these loans for a mortgage is that we would agree to another capital campaign to pay off the mortgage as soon as possible. So it wouldn't be something we live with for a long time. It would be something that we'd move in, but then we'd move in and also make a commitment to paying it off as much as quickly as we could. So, which I think that's good incentive, right? As opposed to like a 30-year kind of deal. So.
anything else? Not? Oh, yes, Ben. Where's the pool? Yeah, she did not say that. I have it on water. Lisa did not say where's the pool, Ben. But anyway, what's that?
Yeah, baptismal font, that's right.
Yeah, swim in the font.
Swimming font. I want to just, we need to close, y'all. It's been a long morning, and I appreciate those of you who stuck around to the end. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We would be, as a parish, remiss if we did not say thank you to John Goodman and Diane Martin and Bob Boder and Nick Robinson for all the time that they have spent. They have put so much time and energy, like consistently. You're talking about tons and tons of work. And so we're so grateful for y'all. Thank you. I'm just going to close this with a general prayer. If you could please stand. Lord, we thank you. You have been so good to us. You have been better to us than we deserve. And so we say thank you. And we ask that you would bless us with the grace to be faithful, or to respond to your generosity, Lord. May we be a generous people, Lord. May we be kingdom people. May we be may Holy Trinity for generations and generations to come be a place where, Lord, your gospel is proclaimed, where people encounter your presence, where, Lord Jesus, you continue your ministry of healing, and where the gospel is proclaimed faithfully in word, sacrament, and deed. And so we commend all these things to you in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thanks, y'all. You have the annual report. Please make sure to take a good look at that, especially the ministry reports. There's so much good stuff happening in the life of our parish, so make sure you check those out. Thanks for being with us, y'all.